what is going on? Hopefully, you're doing wonderful. I am traveling, visiting home in Birmingham, Alabama for the first time in about 8 years. So I'm here in my hometown. So if you see the quality, if you see the setup here, I'm on my mobile setup. So I do apologize. Those that know, the quality is always on point. The audio is always on point. So if you hear a little bit of echo or a little bit of difference, right? It's about the value and it's about the information here that we're going to continuously give. So if you guys could come in, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear. We've got new people all the time tapping in. This slowly starts to get out into the YouTube streets, into my subscribers. So I do give a buffer period. So if you are coming in a little bit later on the recording, you're more than welcome to skip ahead if you'd like, and we can get right down to the value. So without further ado, hopefully everyone's doing absolutely wonderful, and hopefully you're having a blessed Sunday, whether it's spent relaxing, enjoying your mortgage, enjoying your rent, enjoying your family, enjoying your personal time, or if it's you went to church or you have a religious background, whatever you do on Sundays to just fuel yourself for the week. Hopefully you've had an amazing day. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting time. We got football back in season. We've got all types of stuff. We got the fall season approaching. If you're a fall person, for all my fall babies, October babies, end of September babies. We got November. That is my birthday month. We've got December coming up, and we're wrapping up the year, folks. I don't know what else to say. We're wrapping up the year, so it is wild to think how quick, being last year being a political year, an election year, coming into the first term of Trump and all the volatility and the wildness and a lot of the money making opportunities that have come, but also a lot of, heartache and a lot of strife that has come from people. And we're here to talk all positive things and realness of the stock market, and how you could participate via shares and share buying and investing for the first time if you were a beginner. Maybe you're intermediate and trying to understand, you have some investments, but you just don't know what to do, or the charts, or where to buy, or how to buy, right? Or maybe you're a person that is more experienced, which I do have some experienced people that pop in. They just need quick levels. Hey, Brian, like, I don't want to do the research. I just want to double check that I'm right, and I want to take it and run with it. All right, that is cool. Everyone's welcome on this channel. Thank y'all so much for the support. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, right? I started this channel roughly at the starting more so just trading talk, kind of in the around this time last year. So it's almost been a full year. So I appreciate all the support on this channel, and we're growing continuously, providing more value. And if you stick to the end, or if you're rewatching, if you want to already skip to the end, we will be talking about some Q4 opportunities. So those that want to join Leverage University, which is our Discord, our community, where we do live trading, where we have trade ideas, where I'm essentially doing the research for people. It's not just me. We have some moderators in there that do very well with their swing trades, right? People that are a little bit busy. If you watch my video on swing trades and also leap options, I think that is a great opportunity starting now and into the new year, especially for those people that are like, hey, I don't really want to touch my portfolio, but how can I protect it? And also, how can I grow it without having a day trade, right? So if you're here for that, awesome. I appreciate everybody. Now is our buffer period, so we're starting to get people trickling in slowly but surely. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I appreciate you. And also, if you give me a little backup here, let me know down in the chat if you're able to, if everything sounds fine, right? I'm here in my mobile setup. I'm traveling. If some of you watch my stories or my other social media platforms, I am traveling back to Birmingham, Alabama, right, for the first time about 8 years. So that is where I'm born and raised. So if you think I'm from Texas because I lived in Texas or you met me there, no, that was just my adulthood of growing professionally. Now I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. So yeah, get to know a little bit more about me. Maybe why is this dude so nice? I don't know if you think that or not, but I appreciate the kind words from everybody. All right. So we'll get started here in the next minute or so. Next minute. Go ahead and tap in. Get your charts ready. Get everything ready. I'll give you kind of a scoop of how this will go. All right. So if you're rewatching this, here is my format. My format is to go through our fundamentals. Okay. Our fundamentals are essentially how we analyze the week ahead. Okay. So our news data, our earnings reports if we have any, and then also if there's any major kind of talks that maybe Trump is doing, or Fed Powell, or do we have some type of event from a company? We have Amazon earnings is coming, not earnings, excuse me, Prime Day. Volume is very, very low. Okay, let me see if I can raise it just a little bit. Appreciate you. Let me know if that's a little bit better, Trent. Let me know if that's a little bit better, because once we get into this, cool. Is that a little bit better? Doesn't sound too distorted. Is that a little better? Little better? Little better? Little better? Little better? Let me know. I know it's a little bit delayed on the live, so as Trent's helping me out, I appreciate you, Trent. Um, our fundamentals. Okay, we'll be talking about our fundamentals, going over the data, going over our reports and earnings, and then anything that a company may have, such as Amazon, like I was saying, which has their Prime Day coming up next week, which a lot of folks will be spending some money. Okay, so how do you benefit from that in the markets? We'll be talking about Amazon a little bit today, as well as some other stocks that are on the horizon. All right, so that being said, Trent, we still good? Still good, still good, still good, still good, still good, still good. Checking in. 1, 2, 3. Much better. Perfect. Thank you, Trent. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right. Now you don't get to see my blown up face here. It looks a little bit distorted. I'm really big on quality. I'm really big on quality. So I'll have to get a mobile setup if I'm going to start traveling again, because I don't do well with having distortion or anything like that, or it's not the best. So good evening. The volume is very low. Tanvir, I should have increased it there. So just turn it up for me. I'll turn it up just slightly, a little bit more. Decibels there. I'll turn it up just a little bit more. I just don't want it to sound any type of distortion. All right. So I'll turn it up just a little bit more. All right. Cool. All right. Thanks, Trent. Appreciate you. So turn up your volume just a little bit. We're going to get started right now, and let's get to it. Let's get to it. Perfect. 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 All right. Let me make sure we are good here, because the share screen, I want to make sure we're all good. Alrighty. See a black screen right now. It's coming up in just a second. Alrighty. Shouldn't be any different here. Come on now. Come on now. Don't act up on me. Don't turn me upside down either. All right. Let's see what we got going here. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Full screen capture. Y'all bear with me for just a second here. You know how quick this usually is. Why is it not sharing like it normally does? Display device not connected. Okay. Add full screen Mac OS. Oh, I think we got it. I think we got it. This looks crazy. Y'all are like, yo, who is this dude? He can't get his stuff together? This mobile setup. Y'all bear with me. I appreciate you. Browser, video capture, full screen capture. Okay. Where is the full screen capture. Mac OS. Built-in. Okay, let me see if it. Okay, perfect. Only thing is, it's behind. Oh, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. All right. Let me make sure that looks good. And once all the tech stuff is out of the way, we should be ready to go. I appreciate you, Trent. Okay. I think there it goes. Yep. I'm moving that out the way. Perfect. All right, we're good to go. We are good to go. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you staying in with little tech difficulties. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so let's go into our economic calendar here. Our economic calendar is where we look at the data really quickly for the week. And if there's anybody that has any questions or thoughts as you come in, please put them down below. If there's any tickers, any companies that you're looking at that you want to share with the group, if there's anything that, hey, Brian, like I know it's not on your radar, or you didn't talk about it, but I'm invested into it and you want me to check it out on the charts, please put that up because I can't look at every single stock on the stock market. I'm always trying to look at new things that are coming up, especially a lot of these stocks that are underneath $10 in the AI space. I know a lot of you have invested in some. We've caught a lot, such as the Palantirs, the Hoods, the things of that nature, especially in the quantum computing space, ionics, things of that nature. But there's always new up and coming things. So if there's anything like that that you're like, hey, I know these major ones, but this one I'm really interested in, please put that down below in the comments. I appreciate you, and I'll check out those. But as we go along through this, you'll see I talk about typically the Mag 7, the Magnificent 7, top tech companies, as well as our top companies that are Fortune 500, Fortune 400, small caps, things of that nature. All right. Week's major reports. We're ending the month. All right. September has been the absolute most bullish September that I've probably seen since I've been trading more actively in the market since 2018. So this September is, take note of this because not every September will be like this. All right. And October could be that little pullback that we get. We're starting to see some signs. So I want you to note that in your notes going forward, because those of you that are really trying to learn the stock market, this is a never ending thing, right? I don't care what age, what year you started, it will not, it will be here. It was here before us and it'll be here after us. So please take note of these months of how they reacted, and you will know them going forth for the next year to come. So, you know, okay, September, October, I want to be prepared. I want to take advantage of the earlier months, and then, you know, if there's an opportunity for a pullback in those months that are supposed to pull back, I'm ready for them. All right. Federal Reserve, Waller speech, nothing really major there. A couple of Fed speakers. We got pending home sales, and then we've got job openings and consumer confidence on Tuesday. We also have the end of the month, and we have quarterly OPEX or OPEX, right? So if you don't know what that is, go check out a video on my channel on that. If you're inside Leverage University, I have a training on how to trade during OPEX or a quarterly OPEX. All that essentially is there are specific options contracts that are going to expire all at one time this particular quarterly date of September 30th, right? So for those of you that remember the September 19th OPEX day, we kind of had some volatility. We had a big correction kind of to the downside, then we recovered, right? So I always tell you, take notes of these things that I'm saying because they will come back up. All right. Quarterly OPEX is on September 30th, as well as the end of a month, as well as we have some kind of interesting change of directions, change of kind of a sentiment, a little bit of exhaustion at the top here at all-time highs. All right. There are still some opportunities in the market as well for those of you that are looking for things to buy, which is why the title of this is things to prepare for October 2025. So I'll mention those buy opportunities for those that are wanting those. All right. So let's jump into October 1st. We got ADP, auto sales, ISM. We'll start off the month of October with some interesting data because this data is very important simply because it's our jobs data. We know that the labor market has been a little bit shaky. Even Fed Powell, when he was speaking recently, talked about. So if you're wondering, Brian, why the market drop recently when Fed Powell was speaking, is and it recovered, but it was a little bit shaky, right, when he was speaking because of the labor market that you probably heard sentiments of. And he was speaking a little bit more like, hey, the labor market is in this no hire, no fire type of situation, which is not necessarily good for us as the consumer, whether you have a job or you don't have a job, right? So that is where this kind of iffy sentiment, because what was he before? Fed Powell was very bullish with his rate cuts. Hey, we see where we're going. We like the rate cuts. He was talking very dovish. And then he comes back and says, hey, the labor market's still kind of shaky, right? But the rate cuts are supposed to continue into the end of the year. So we may have a couple more rate cuts, right? But we trade on the charts, right? The money is on the charts, and that is where we're going to continuously focus while paying attention to these fundamentals. All right, we got jobless claims on Thursday. We got unemployment data on Friday. So very, very busy week, which means if you're inside of Leverage University, if you trade on your own, which is perfectly fine. If you're trading, all right, I always mention this. I don't care if my Leverage University members, I don't care if you've been watching me, repeatedly every Sunday. There's a new person that comes to these channels every single day, okay, and every single week. So I want to make sure that you understand the difference between trading and investing. All right, this week, trading wise, can be very volatile. All right, because the data will come out. It's the end of a month, start of a new month, and we have unemployment data, right, and employment labor market data coming in with a lot of Fed speakers that will be speaking. For us, trading wise, day trading, short trades, things of that nature, that means money opportunities. When there's volatility going back and forth, fast movement in the charts, those are money opportunities. For those of you that are just long-term investors, which everyone should be, but those of you that think, oh, I'm not concerned about this, it's always going to go back up. Yes, it's going to go back up, but you've got to think there's a different mindset between a trader in the short term and a long-term investor. If you're a long-term investor, you don't mind it to maybe pull back a little bit because you're like, oh, I get some at a discount, and then it goes right back up because you're holding for 5-10 years, or maybe you have a 2-year plan, things like that, right? So I always kind of get that out of the way because someone might be in the mindset of, okay, this dude's talking about, scarcity and all that kind of stuff, and the market's going to pull back. I'm talking to my traders, okay? If you are a long-term investor and it pulls back and you like the company that you're invested into, buy the dip, right? If you're a long-term investor and you have, I talked about this last week, and you have a position that's over 100% positive, 200% positive, right? You've got to start getting in your game plan what you're going to do. Are you going to essentially hold, buy more, or are you going to start protecting your gains, maybe take 10% off the top, 20% off the top, trim, and then buy the dip lower so you lock in those gains? That is your prerogative, not financial advice. All right. Let's see what y'all are talking about up in here. Y'all spamming me up in the chats. All right. We good there? Let me check chat. I apologize for all the crazy stuff going here. We good? All right. Just making sure this is also changing, because it looked like it came up with one screen share there. Cool. Make sure this is also changing. All right, I can still talk. All right, I gotta check and make sure this is gonna share the chart as well. Properties, scale, should share the whole screen, full screen built in. Okay, what are we doing here? What did it just do? All right. All right, y'all bear with me just to make sure we are going. So I'm not talking and it's not showing the charts. We're about to go into the charts now. All right. So we're seeing interesting. I'm not seeing anything moving. Not seeing anything moving here. Just want to make sure before I jump in the charts because it's just showing my window but not moving anything. Mac OS, screen capture, display capture, full screen share. All right. Now is it moving? Mac OS. All right, so it's moving now. There we go. There we go. All right. So y'all are like, Ryan, you're stuck at the top of the screen. It's not moving. It's just capturing it. So you heard everything I said. There are the Fed speakers job openings, October 1st, October 2nd, and then October 3rd. All important days, a lot of money in the opportunity with trading purposes. All right. I wasn't sharing anything else. So let's jump into the charts where the money is made. Let me know down in the comments with a 1 if you could. Let me know down in the comments with a 1 if you could tap in with me. Just let me know that everything is good, that you're still here, that you're still listening, and that we're good to go. You see my screen moving? It looks kind of trippy there. Okay. All right. And we should be on the charts. All right. I might have to shrink this just a little bit. Kind of come over there and shrink it here. We're going to get this mobile setup figured out here together. All right, let's jump over the SPY. Okay, we've got the SPY, SPY. And we've got a key thing that I want you to pay attention to. I've heard me say this before on our markers. Our markers are the things that help us kind of identify if we are strong or if we are weak relatively on a bigger time frame. So I want you to look at this daily time frame here, okay? And do you see I'm on a D here for the daily? Each candlestick represents a day, okay? And this is the SPY S&P 500. I want you to look at this light blue line that identifies, let me turn off this 9 EMA, this light blue line that identifies the daily 20. That daily 20 is a good indication for how we are strong still versus sometimes you'll see the market fall below the daily 20, which indicates a little bit more of weakness. And I'll show that as it comes up with a specific stock that might be underneath their daily 20. But because it came down and it did not break below that daily 20, you see it rides it almost like a wave. That's why I personally turn it into light blue. Just like holds it and holds it and holds it. All these other moving averages are also support moving averages on a 50-day, a 100-day, and a 200-day. Okay. All these things I teach 101. I also teach in my boot camps, and I will be coming out with a mini course as well, as a lot of people have been requesting kind of a starter course with 10 modules or so of how to get started with options trading or just stock market reading in general on the charts. So because we're above this daily 20 here, we are technically still strong, okay? So if I go down to a 4-hour, another thing that I want you to recognize is a structure called a bull flag, okay? So we have a bull flag here that is formulating off of this daily 20 level. However, okay, when we're in a bull market, it is going to try to retest the high, okay? Retest the high like that is trying to take in a bull market, trying to take out a new high to print a new all-time high to look like that. Okay. So that is what is in my mind going into these next couple of days and into the first week of a new month. Okay. However, because we are formulating lower highs, we need to see how this daily and 4 hours starts to finish, because we've still got a lot of selling and sellers that stepped in, okay, when we broke this trend. So if I change this trend line to this, okay, that is where we broke trend on a daily and also a 4-hour time frame. If you can see right there, this was a formulated pullback, but we were holding, 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 holding. If buyers would have held this, then we should have held that 664, 665 level to continue higher in that direction. But we couldn't do it, and we broke trend, and that's where we had that kind of fall with Powell and pulled back. So what I want to look for with the SPY is, do sellers step back in at this 664 to 663 resistance level? Okay. And what it will look like is something like this. You will see a green strength, which we've been doing, and I've been telling my group in the community, if they're day trading more specifically with our major tech companies and the indices, that we're shorting the pops. Okay. That essentially means if we're trading, and a lot of you want to learn how to day trade and want to learn how to option trade, if you trade futures, that's awesome as well. But that means that when you see green candle open up in the morning and you're like, oh man, we're green. We're looking, okay, at least in Leverage University, I know some other traders have been doing it as well, to short the pops. That means we're playing puts as it's pushing up because there's still sellers present in the market up here at all-time highs. Okay, so the last couple of days has been a great trading week for me personally. I am feeling a lot better, so I'll be active tomorrow in live trading for my Leverage University members. So make sure you're on time in the morning. But we have been on par the last week or so, shorting the pops. Every time it pops in the morning, puts right back down 30%, 50%, 100% within 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, so that is my game plan. Again, as it pushes higher, I'm not really trusting this high again right into 664 to do something like this. Okay, to pull back into the end of the month, and then we've got some gaps to fill below into 650, and if we take out that new low, we can have some more drastic selling kind of coming in. Okay, and that's warranted, right? That is warranted. This isn't a bad thing to have a pullback into 650, which is the daily 50, and into 642 to 643, which is the daily 100. Okay, so be very careful for my folks that only see upside right now. Okay, at least with there's some upside, but at least with our major indices, SPY, QQQ, please be careful when you see green first thing in the morning, right? And you may take that opening drive or that opening call push, that's fine. But if you've been getting kind of slammed back down first thing in the morning and have to stop out of your calls, or you're like, what in the world just happened? Okay, it happened, but the market recovered, right? But I'm just saying immediately it kind of shocks people off open when you have something like this. Okay, here's a perfect example how it looks. Here was the 25th, which was Thursday. And we opened up Friday morning and we got that opening drive. Let me take all this off for some people. That opening drive push, right off of there, right off of 657 on SPY. Opening drive, it moves out to 6. Oh man, we're about to take off, and it goes all the way back up to highs and gets slammed right back down if you're not patient, all right? And then it eventually recovers, but you see that it is pulling back pretty drastically and stair-stepping its way up. Okay, pop, fade, maybe grind up a little bit more in my opinion. Now, if we reverse, I'm okay with that. All right, but I need to see us take out this 664 because we have broken trend. So if we just trickle up here like this and we just trend up here and I see another green open, I'm not really trusting that slow grind back up to get slammed right back down again. All right, so please be mindful of that if you are day trading or you're scalping, if you're in another group, or if you want to be a part of our group, or you're doing it on your own. Okay. Same thing with QQQ. All right. Now, if you're a buyer on SPY, your entry points for calls, you want to enter or you want to consider buys or calls back down where we see buyers in the market, which is down here at 656 to 655. As long as we hold that, Or if we break below that, I would wait closer to this 645 to 647 level. Okay, down where this next green line is, where there are more potential buyers sitting right around 647. Okay, that would be my entry points for buys to feel comfortable. If we push back up in all-time highs, we take out all-time highs, I still don't trust that personally. At least in the short term. Okay, so this is for my short-term day traders that want to make money this week. Okay, let's jump into QQQ. Same kind of sentiment here on QQQ. If I go into my daily, if I turn on my moving averages there, you can see that we're holding that daily 20. Okay, so as long as we're above that, we're still in a bull market. We're still strong, still forming higher highs, higher highs, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Cool, that's fine. Okay, but I want my entry on my buys or my calls to be closer to this 585, 586. Okay, not pushing back up into 600. Now, if we break above 600, you need a solid break above 600. That is a key level, obviously, on QQQ, because you can see what happened here. If I mark this right there, we broke down underneath that 599, 600, tried to reclaim it. Nope. Tried to get back up. Nope. Tried to get back up. Nope. And now we're trying to trend back up again, and we could get slammed right back down underneath that 598 to 600 level. Okay, so we've got sellers stacked up still in that 597 area. You can see over here, couldn't get above it, couldn't get above it, finally got above it, perched up. 597, 598. Okay, so I'm looking for the bottom end range of QQQ, because this could be a simple bear flag right back up into there, and then we come right back down. Okay, so that is what's in my mind. Okay, and for my Leverage University members, let me know down below. For those of you that know, you know, I trade the downside very well. I'm very confident on the downside. So whenever I see bear flags, whenever I see a little bit of sellers stepping in, right, I'm very confident in my downside trades. That does not mean I am a bear. That does not mean that I'm always looking for puts. That just means the risk to reward, at least for a lot of these tech stocks and a lot of the overall market, I feel more comfortable with the risk to reward scalping it back down 3, 4, 5 points, whatever. And in options, that's 30% minimum. Who doesn't want 30% on their money minimum within 30 minutes to an hour or whatever it might be? Okay, so that is my kind of game plan strategy that's in my head. It does change at times depending on how the market reacts in the first thing in the morning, or if there's news, or we're gapped up all the way up, or we gap down. Now, if we push down or something drastic happens overnight, just say something happens overnight tonight, scares the market, and we're down at 586. Okay, well, the move already happened. I'm not looking for, necessarily puts if the market's already falling down here and we're back in support. So then my mind changes, right? My strategy changes. So gotta be flexible. Same thing here on IWM. I actually like this IWM. I told my group about this one on Friday. So if you got that one, this trade was up on the community instead of day trade signals right here. I signaled it right around 241, and then it went for about 60% back down to 239. So this move to that move right there in options for about a 2 to 3 day expiration was 30 to 50% on your money. Okay, so that is the power of learning how to trade, and more specifically options, but I do trade futures as well. So if you're in the futures market, that's cool too. Okay. IWM still looks like a bear flag. So I'd watch this IWM into this level here of 242. You can kind of see that we were supposed to hold that, hold that, hold that, hold that. Let me move it here. Let me do this. And get it back up for everybody. There we go. So the line should allow me to change the color. There we go. Okay. So if I drag that to that 242 area, it broke support gap down, went down to the bottom end of support of 237, and is now pushing back up into the level previous support, now become resistance about 242.50. Okay, so watch that on IWM. I like the volatility on it. Okay, this could be pop, grind in that level, and try to retest that low one more time. Now, if it holds, then we could go back up there. But I'd be very mindful of that 242.50, right, into that level there to pull back potentially. Now, if we break above, okay, and I'll talk about this in live trading, if we break above that level and hold it and mount above that 252.50 and hold, then we can go back up. Okay. So whichever one, but right now we broke below and we got to reclaim it. Otherwise, we're just going to get slammed right back down to that 240. We break underneath 240. We can come right back down into 237 and then back down even lower into 236. Okay. Cool. All right, let me check chat. Make sure everybody's good. If SPY breaks 662, we're going to 664, 667, hopefully. Yep. Tesla 445 break, 440, 460 is target. Cool. Thanks, Tim Veer. Appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Okay. This is why it's powerful to have a monitor as well, which is why I love my monitor. Because on a laptop, you just don't get the full experience. All right, let's go into our main stock that I wanted to mention to keep an eye on. Okay, I have not entered into anything. I have not, seen any signs just yet. Amazon here going into, and why Amazon's interesting is because it's been relatively weak compared to the market, right? So it started falling and breaking this trend here on the market. Okay. And you can see there it was grinding, broke that daily 20. Okay, that's what I was talking about that I said I was going to mention. Do you see this light teal line that just got weak under, and finally broke underneath that daily 20? Okay, so my bottom end of the range on Amazon personally, at least for the short term, would be around 210 to 212. Okay, I don't think it's done just yet, which is why I'm just being very patient with it, especially coming into this week, right? It could pop, but again, these pops are getting shorted on Amazon. If you can see, it tried to recover back to 224, came down lower. Tried to come up here to 220, just sitting here, and then this could just come lower one more time. Okay, I really don't think this is the bottom yet on Amazon. There's a little bit more gap to fill down here into that 210, maybe even 208 level down into Amazon, but I would love for it to give one more little drop underneath this level personally. However, you can see we said that last time, okay, when it got and held this daily 200 and daily 100, okay, level, okay, that, I'm in Alabama, so the Auburn colors that you see on your screen, orange and blue right here, okay, it fell from 236, held that, popped right back up, and went right to 238 from 211. Okay, now it's sitting right on top of that level and just kind of sitting there perched up waiting, right? But we would really need Amazon to kind of get back above the daily 20, which is 230. Okay, start mounting there, and then we can go higher like that. Okay, so I'm just being very patient on Amazon. I have not really signaled to the group. I just keep mentioning it, updating it, like, hey, let's keep an eye on Amazon. If we see any spurt or kind of big pop or something like that, then that could be like our signal potentially for an Amazon move from roughly 219, 218 back to that 230 level. Okay, it wants to try to get back above that daily 20 and daily 50. Okay, so those are our targets for right now. Now, one thing I do see on the lower time frames, the hourly here, is we have a slight break of trend. Very slight, nothing confirmed yet because the downward pressure, along with the market maybe pulling back a little bit, right, is downward here, and it could just roll over and keep going. Okay, so that was interesting to me to see this kind of grind into a falling wedge, and then you see how we popped out of it. And if we hold this and we start building on it, maybe with news and Amazon Prime Day coming, we could pop like that. Okay. So still kind of iffy on Amazon, but I think, long term Amazon, this could be a decent little pickup opportunity. But I think Amazon has a little bit lower to go, maybe. But we'll keep that monitored inside the community. If I draw a trend line here from these lower highs, do you see that top right there, top right there, top right there? And if it pops all the way back into there's another top. Okay, right into 230, and it could just blast through there and go back to the highs, or it could just be a really big retest to come lower. Oops. Did everyone see that? So my mind, if y'all ever want to get into the mind of what I'm thinking, my mind is already 2-3 steps ahead because of experience. And if I have anyone else on here that is more experienced than I am, right, that is perfectly fine, right? I'm always open to feedback. That what's the bigger idea on Amazon? Is it this short little trade that I want to take from here to there? Or is it, hey, maybe I'll just let it trend back up, see where it goes, and then do I get that? Right? And then that's where I want to pick it up. We shall see. But I just want to keep Amazon on everyone's radar, at least for the Mag 7 or some of the big companies that you may be saying, hey, what is, are we, is this like a little temporary top, or are we having a bigger pullback? Things of that nature. All right. Since September was so bullish, is October going to give us a pullback? Maybe. Right. So, but I do see relative weakness on Amazon compared to everything else. Because if we look at Google's kind of giving a little bit of a pullback here, but I think Google personally needs a bigger pullback underneath 240 into the 225 range, and even back to that gap fill if possible. So Google's already made its run. It's pulling back. Apple, we will see what Apple does this week. Does it finish off and finally break above 258, above 260, and we get a new all-time high breakout? We don't know, right? But that weekly move on Apple is right into previous all-time highs. It is not broken out of it yet. We've got to see if it breaks above 260. If we get above 260, we're going to start getting some blue sky territories, and some of you might want to take that breakout for another $10, $20 move on Apple, kind of like what Google did. So keep your eye on Apple. If you're like, Brian, Apple's super strong, it's going to have a breakout above 260. It's gone to 270. Okay, cool. Can we get above 260 first? We get above 260, cool. That's our Google move, right? See when Google broke above new all-time highs here, which was right here, kind of like how Apple's sitting. You see how Google was right at 206, waiting for that breakout. There's that breakout, and then we got from 206 to 256, right? So Apple, keep your eye on it. Does it get a little pullback before? Does it trap buyers up here, pull back before? We shall see. Just make sure it clears first before any of my Apple bulls just jumping at all-time highs. Then it pulls all the way back to 240, which is not all the way back, but you get my gist for my traders, okay? I'm telling you, my trap, especially my bull trap eye. My bull trap eye is like, I'm just gonna say I'm very confident in it. I'm very confident in my bull trap eye. If you don't know what a bull trap is where everyone stacks up and says, man, Apple's gonna break out new all-time highs, and I'm like, this looks like a rising wedge. If that breaks trend, all y'all gonna get trapped. It's gonna pull back, right? So my bull trap eye is pretty nice. I trade a risk to reward setup. I'm not a bear. I'm not against people making money. I'm just saying risk to reward until it clears 260. Please be mindful of that for anyone that's a beginner trader, you're trading options, or you're in another group and you're like, I'm just going to take Apple calls because it's pretty much there. It's going to clear. Okay. Everybody good with that? Does that help? All right. There's your Apple. Okay. I'm always an advocate. My Leverage University members know this. I'm always an advocate of, if there's any gaps in the stock, I want to see some of the gaps get filled before I get extremely bullish. If not, cool. I'm just going to let it run. I'm going to short the pops. I feel more comfortable with that. Now, if I get a pullback, then I'll get interested in Apple calls again, back at 240, right? Those risk to reward, something like that. If I get a previous high, pull back to 240, cool, I'll rotate Apple back up. Okay. Alrighty. Let's go into Microsoft. Nothing really here. I may see a little head and shoulders situation here. Okay. Right there. Right there. another pop, and then it fills that gap and comes back down into 500 and maybe to that 495. But again, you see that light gray area there, a little gap, and it's kind of getting stuck underneath this 520. It needs to clear above 520 and take off, like that, or pull back first and then try to, regain some strength and rotate back up. All right. So Microsoft, a little interesting here. As you can see, it's basing above 500. All right. And we go from there, and it's trying to rotate back up to take out a new high. All right. I think it's a little bit overextended, but it's holding above 500, just kind of sitting in this channel. Meta, nice double top here. Perfect example of a trap up here at the highs. Bulls got really excited saying 800 breakout on Meta, trapped them right there at 786, pulled all the way back about 40 bucks back there. Nice double top on Meta. I think Meta needs to pull back. However, Meta, as everyone knows, most people are looking at $1,000 range on Meta and then a stock split or something like that. But Meta's in this kind of channel here. Okay, so Meta, in my opinion, will break above 800 before the end of the year if we have a nice bullish run. Okay, so Meta, nice there. Tesla, let's jump into it. Tanvir mentioned it. Tesla above 500. It will get there eventually. We'll just see really no big pullback. You can see buyers again. Anytime Tesla has a breakout, folks just get, I don't care, calls on Tesla every day. Calls on Tesla every day. That is your prerogative. I personally left Tesla alone. It used to be my baby. I used to trade it every single day when it was around the 200 range. When it got a little bit overextended, contracts got a little bit overly priced, in my opinion, for a weekly contract. I kind of left Tesla alone, but I'm still getting 40% trades. I'm still getting my 100% trades. That's fine. But I don't really like, this is just me, I don't personally like wide range ATRs because I'm more of a scalper or a day trader. I don't need Tesla to move 40 bucks, okay? And if my entry is just a little bit off, I'm on the wrong side of the trade. Versus I can get a $6 to $7 move and I can still get my 50 to 100% on my trades, okay? So if you're trading Tesla, please be mindful. If you love it, you love it. If you've been winning on it, awesome. It doesn't matter what we trade. If you make money and you're confident in your strategy, cool. But Tesla breaks above this 446 into a new high. We're going to get a nice push into 480. Like Tanvir said, we got that 467 up at the top there. 465 is our next resistance. So 465, I would be very careful up into this 465 to 467 level. I think we get a little bit of a trap up here, kind of like Meta, and then we pull back before we rip. So if we get a deep pullback like that, base, and then rotate, cool. We can get a Tesla breakout as long as it holds above that 400 and we get a pullback there. Okay. So Tesla, still bullish. It's usually bullish into the end of the year, especially the holdings of Bitcoin and crypto and Elon and his push. And then we have earnings coming up. So Tesla's got to perform, but it is ramping up before the end of the year. All right, Coinbase. Now, this is going into crypto a little bit before I get to our semiconductors. Let me check the chat really quick. Make sure everybody's good. All right, we're good. All right, cool. I can kind of see the chart maybe looking a little bit big here because my big head's in the way. Let me shrink myself. I probably should have shrunk myself a while back. You're like, Brian, why is your head in the way, bro? All right. I appreciate y'all's patience today on my mobile setup. I'll be back in the lab this week on Tuesday and for next stock sermon Sunday. So this is your first time and you like the content, let me know. It is you can go back and look at the other ones for the quality. All right. Let's go into Coinbase here. We had a nice pullback on crypto. I'll jump into crypto in a little bit after I go through my semiconductors, but we have a lot of information, a lot of nice opportunities on crypto. I told my community, and I'm telling you guys now here on Stock Sermon Sunday, that crypto is at a good buy levels. Okay, good level to pick it up. Typically, there's a nice bullish run into the end of the year. We're still in our halving season. Okay, if you don't know about it, go look it up. Bitcoin halving every 4 years. So we're still in our halving season. and it's just kind of been sitting. After Bitcoin made its move, it got quiet again, and then now it's pulling back, right? Solana pulled back to 198, just underneath $200. Nice buy level there. So you're seeing Coinbase pull back a little bit. You're seeing even Hood kind of get a little bit stuck underneath 130. It made a nice run last week. Okay, so we want to keep an eye on some of these crypto names as coin is continuously holding above 300. Okay, see it's basing here above 300. I'm not sure what it's going to do just yet, because it did kind of fake some folks out, in my opinion, a little bit. If they got too overly bullish on this gap fill here, right, and it pulled back from 356 to 312. Okay, so this is what kind of I was talking about, kind of the wide range pullback stocks, where it pulled back roughly $50 in a very short span of time. And if you're on the right side, you make a lot of money. Okay, but I'm looking at this kind of grind down here on Coinbase into this 312, 310 level. If I go into my weekly time frame and I move this up here right into that support range. Okay, kind of see right there, previous highs, support, 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 almost like a triple bottom, pretty much just sitting above this 300 to 310 range. And if it holds and rotates back up, then this could be a nice bull flag consolidation to rotate. But in my opinion, we got to take back above the previous weekly high, which is 333 to 330. Okay, so really want to watch that 333, last week's weekly high, to see if we can take it out or start rotating back. If not, we might fade underneath this 300, and we could come lower. All right, we could come lower. So Coinbase, we'll be keeping an eye on. Nvidia. If I look at this weekly Nvidia trap here again, kind of just, some people are looking at this as a bull flag, right? Kind of a bull flag consolidation trying to break out. And others could look at it as saying, hey, you know, it's just kind of messy up in here. It is just kind of messy and choppy between 185 and 170. Okay, just kind of choppy in here. And it's become, you know, it's like not a lot of nice scalping opportunities back and forth, but this is not the best looking chart, in my opinion, when you get just this channel chop. Okay, if it's the top of the channel, great. 183 to 185 can pull it back down. If it's the bottom of the channel, 170 to 173, then you can buy it up and, you know, for calls back up. But if I zoom into my 4-hour here, you can see a lot of top wicks coming in with that big push from that news, right? Buy the news, or excuse me, buy the rumor, sell the news, sold the news, pop back up, and then trying to come back and fill that little gap down to 170, in my opinion. Okay, so Nvidia, not the best, but nice, good scalping opportunities. But I'll watch that 180 to 179 level. If it's below that, you know, it's going to try to rotate back down if the market's weak. If it reclaims 180, 181, then we rotate back up to 184 to 185. All right, so just kind of stuck in there. AMD, kind of the same thing, right? If you're hearing in the stock market streaks, I keep mentioning AMD. It's gearing up for something, and we don't know which way it's going, but right now it's stuck at 164. Okay, see, it tried to break above that 164, 165 that we talked about last week, could not get above for that big push, but still just kind of sitting in this chop zone between 155 and 164. All right, so whichever way it breaks, it's going to make a big move, and we shall watch to see what AMD does. If it gets, turn your alerts on, if we get above 166 on AMD, I'm going to mark that now, 166, and we start basing above here, that's when that move can start happening up to 180. It's going to make a pretty big move. Okay, we just don't want to jump the gun too early, more specifically for trading. Okay, because AMD could also come out of nowhere, and this could be a bear flag. Can't ever get back above, pull back to 144 and then 140. And we're back in some of these gaps like that. And we continue a little bit lower. All right. So kind of staying away from those. I tried it a couple times, had some nice scalps, but I'm like, until it breaks, don't really like it. Think there's some better opportunities. All right. MU. Nice pullback opportunity. Any pops on MU, I think fade it personally. It is very strong. Okay. MU is very, very strong from its earnings. Earnings was decent, but it was already kind of priced in my opinion. It made a big run from 115 up to 170. And MU holding at this 155 could pop up and rotate. But again, not really interested in these all-time highs. If it pops, I'll look for a lower high to see if I can get another pop back down. Otherwise, just leaving it alone. But MU pulling back nicely off of the highs. AVGO got a gap fill here. Could hold this bottom of 330. Still holding. It could rotate as well. Okay. Not really interested personally down here. I'd be more interested closer to 300 or a full gap fill, but really nice pullback from 373 to 333. Nice $40 to $50 pullback in the semiconductor sector. All right. Palantir, everybody's favorite. Everyone wants to know what's going on with Palantir. Okay. Consolidating, had a really nice push on Friday. I traded the downside, which probably surprised some people, maybe not. But Palantir reclaimed pretty nicely above this 177. Okay, so Palantir came down, reclaimed that 177 and pushed all the way up to 185, and I shorted this pop right at the top of that 185 in the community back down to about 177. Okay, so it's just kind of sitting here, but that is a lot of bullish strength. If you can see that strength breakout above 172, this could be just a little bullish consolidation, and we just got to see which way it breaks. See, it's just stuck in here right now. Does it break up or does it break back down? Okay, right now, Palantir is still very strong. I would be very careful. If it breaks a new high, 186, then we could push back up to 190, and then new all-time high on Palantir. Okay, so we'll just watch Palantir which way it breaks, but right now just kind of stuck in this little consolidation above 172. Oracle, nice gap fill here on Oracle. So Oracle is into the gap. In my opinion, if there can be some type of pop into two, and the market gets weak, and you want this full gap fill on Oracle, please do not chase this, in my opinion, on Oracle. I know a lot of you that have learned my gap fill strategy still need to record that video. This gap here on Oracle down to 243, so that's another $40 drop. Okay, I think 260 will be the first stop. But if we get a pop on it, maybe closer to 300 if the market kind of recovers just a little bit and we get some green coming in like that, and then we see a failure back below, that would be the entry that I would look for, closer to 291 to 295. All right, so just a little bit of a recovery on Oracle would be nice if possible. Okay, because it is into the gap now, and Oracle did not have the best earnings personally, so it's warranted. All right, some of our favorites. Let me check chat. We all good? I cannot wait to short Palantir to 100. I'll be patient. Yep. I absolutely loved it. I want the big short on Palantir, 10 I love it. If I can get a little bit of a pop and a bigger failure off of there, I just don't want this to be a bull flag, right? So I'm kind of watching, that situation there on Palantir, that it might be, kind of another retry. But if we can get a bigger failure, a bigger seller step in, then I like it. But if this is a double top and we start failing back below 170, stuff like that, yeah, I think Palantir personally, my big retest on Palantir is back to that daily 200. So close to 120. Close to 120 would be kind of my big first retest. So I like that $100 level that you're talking about. We got to see some breaks of these daily levels, which will be 168. Break of that daily 20, daily 50. Then we got the daily 100, which is right at 150. So I think 150 will be a big stop where buyers will try to hold that up if we do get a pullback to there. All right, maybe one more pop, and then we get something like that. That's what you're looking at. But yeah, I agree. All right, Hood. This is another one kind of like Palantir that I want to short personally. Okay, and I've been seeing some things on here that I like. However, we're back in support. Okay, we're back in support. So my mind works in big, like I said before, these big ideas. So if I see it for, kind of drifting away from the daily 20 a little bit too far, or drifting away from that daily 50 a little bit too far, and I see some gaps below, I see a bigger move or a bigger pullback that could happen. The more it just kind of grinds up and grinds up with very low volume, in my opinion. Right, even if it breaks, I had a really nice trade on this off of 130. I shorted it for about 60-70% or something like that. So um, daily 20 sitting at 115. So the bottom end of the range in the short term for my hood traders, which I know I have some. Dream, if you're here, if you got my message, check your messages. I want to make sure you don't miss anything this week. But we'd be 115 on hood for a pullback. If we break that 114, 115 with strength, okay, even if we pop back up a little bit into the highs and try to retest 130, fail that, I can see something like this happening. Okay, I can see something like that happening. But we got some stops in between first, which would be 110. I keep mentioning that 115 to 110 is our first stop pullback. 115 to 110 is our first stop for a bigger pullback, just in case you see blood in the streets or red kind of pulling back. That's our first stop. I'm not talking about 100 or this gap fill until we start getting below some of those bigger levels. All right. So hood, I'm really liking this trend break that we had personally, like that. And again, I'm talking to my traders. I'm not talking necessarily to my long-term investors. Long-term investors, if you missed hood or you want to get in some of these, I'm getting to those in just a second after we finished our kind of weekly wrap. All right. So we broke that trend. Okay. And once we break trend, if we have these little weak pops, all right, something like that. All right. So 115 is my first kind of stop. Okay. All right. Hood. There we go. Let's see if there's any others for weeklies that I'm looking at before I get into long term. Uber's been interesting. Okay. Everyone's raving about Uber kind of trying to like blast through that 100. All right. And anytime you break a company tries to break a big psychological level, right? Such as 100, like when Hood got above 100, it will kind of sit there for a little bit, kind of struggle, kind of trying to, get its footing to see if it's really worth above $100, right? Hood kind of did that before it really broke through. Okay, you see when it got around this 100, just kind of, trickled up here, popped, faded back down to 93, popped, faded off of there, just kind of stuck in here around 100 until it finally got its footing. All right. Uber is something that you may want to keep a watch on because it could move into kind of some really nice day trading opportunities on Uber above this 100, but I'm really watching this channel. Okay. It's either a rising wedge and we pull back deeper. Okay, you see how that, trend line at the top went above 100, trapped anybody because that was their target. There was orders set up there, trapped, pulled back to 96 from 101, and then it's trying again. Okay, so I'm really looking at this channel, what it does in this channel. Okay, it's in a channel like this. It'll either sit here and then break out like that, and then we got a rising wedge bull flag. It breaks out into new highs, or we pull back into this channel deeper, right? Off this 100, kind of tries one more time, gets stuck, and then pulls back deeper, and then maybe even breaks that and wants to pull back even further before ripping. Okay, so keep your eye on Uber. It's kind of making some moves around that $100 level. It's getting interesting, so kind of keeping that on watch. All right. All right. Let's jump into our long term. Let's jump into long term buys or considerations for the end of the year, Q4, October. What should you be considering or looking at? Again, if it's your first time here, my watch list over to my left here is organized from my indices in yellow, my main day trades in kind of light blue here, and then semiconductors, finance that I look at on a weekly and daily basis, kind of like my slower movers, stable companies, things that I may want to look at, but I don't necessarily day trade, maybe a swing trade or share buying opportunities in orange. And then my white is they pull back 50% or more, or any of you that have mentioned stocks that, hey, Brian, you should take a look at this, or this may be speculative, or it's underneath $10 or something like that. All right. And I start putting it in white here. And I also have other watch lists organized by different sectors. Okay. All right. So let's go jump into let's mention Lyft, since Lyft is a hot stock right now that's kind of breaking out. Okay, I want to get these buy levels on Lyft. If you have not entered Lyft Leaps, okay, an option contract a year out, January 2027 or into 2028 or summer 2026, things of that nature. Okay, we've got a buy target on this of about $33 to $40 as our first target. So a nice double up from here. Okay. So that is a short-term target. You kind of can see that there are some bigger targets that, we got to get through the first levels first, which was above 20. We're sitting above 20 really nicely. We've broken above this wedge, right? And Lyft could start retracing and rolling back up to the upside, retesting some of these levels, which will be $33 to $32, 40, and then upwards of $50+ and more. Okay. We could rotate all the way back up to the highs if it has something crazy. Okay, very similar to Uber, just following in Uber's footsteps. Lyft is now profitable. Okay, so share buying anywhere between $18 to $20 at this point, I think is a great opportunity for people to get involved. If it pulls back even deeper, that's great. But if we mount above this 20 and we keep holding new highs, Lyft is ready for liftoff. Okay. Looks even better on a monthly time frame. You can see that big bullish candle coming out of that wedge, right? That is just a technical indicator. Okay. And once you start having that, you start getting buyers, big money interested. Okay. So Lyft, keep your eye on it. That is a major one that could double up. So if you buy it $18 to $20 and you're looking for 40 within the next year, there's your 100% on your money. If it goes to 30, you do the math on that. Okay. There's your, what is that? 60, 70%. Okay. So, yeah. All right. So Lyft is our first one. I'm going to go into TTD because I've been mentioning this a lot lately. I want to do some more due diligence and digging on this from a fundamental perspective. Okay. I don't have everything memorized in my mind. All right. Even though some people think I do. But I like the technical indication of this. Okay. Did not have poor earnings. CEO stepped up. They had a decent report. So going into the next earnings season, I'm kind of looking at what is kind of beaten down going into the earnings season. So for those of you that maybe missed this earnings season, a lot of great earnings opportunities, Oracle going crazy, Oklo, things like that. And you're like, man, how can I catch one of those? The research starts now. Earnings season is about to approach again for the Q3 season, coming up at the end of October, going into November, going into December. So start researching now, and I'll be talking more about those inside of our community and on these stock sermons. So TTD is one of these that has a nice opportunity for a good risk to reward. You can kind of see what it's doing here on a daily. Okay, and I know a lot of you have been hearing me talk about it and haven't been patient and all that kind of stuff, but right, anytime you get a falling knife or something falling, you're like, man, when is this thing gonna recover? Right, and out of nowhere, it just pops, and you're like, oh, I should have bought some. So TTD, I've got a price target simply back to 55 to 60 bucks in the short term. Right, I'm very much of a step one first, and then we go to our next level. Okay, so my first level is simply from this 43 back to that 57. Okay, and then 60. All right in this zone here is my first target. So you take it from 45-ish up to roughly 60. There's your 15%, or not 15%, $15 or 15-point move from a share position, from an option position. You do the math on that depending on leaps. We're in leap territory or big swing trade territory, 6 months out, 7 months out, year plus out on TTD. Okay. We also have a gap opportunity here as well, and it may start trending back up. And before you know it, you're like, dang, like it's back up to $80. Okay. Mention it here on Dollar General. How many of y'all remember when I mentioned Dollar General back at $70 and it went to 120? I said Dollar General. It is, y'all know Dollar General is when you're going on vacation. Okay. You're traveling, you're doing a little road trip. Dollar General was where? Sitting right at $70, right back at 2017 lows. And it slowly took its time from February of this year and went from February of this year to $122 in August. So a lot of folks are, I'm just hearing in the streets. Maybe some of you are those people, or maybe you're trying to teach your family, or maybe you are that person. Maybe you're the educator, right? And folks are always asking, man, where can I get more money on my money? And, they're not, my job's not paying enough and all this stuff. You don't need a lot. The stock market can provide you that opportunity for you to set and forget. If you're listening to these, show up for free. This is free information. Okay. We get a little bit more deep dive of where the buys are, where we get in or where you get in. I answer questions if you jump into communities. That's the value of those. This takes time, right? Like, you're looking at some of this, you're like, how does he keep up with all this stuff? Right? This is a time in the market type of thing. All right. So the more patterns I see, the more things, that is where people get confident. Like, yo, this is easy money 6 months down the road. I don't have to think about it. Put $500 in if that's all you got. Put $1,000 in, not financial advice, obviously. Put leaps in, buy a $300 contract, put it a year out, and put it in a long-term portfolio, or set up a different Robinhood account. Now that Robinhood has the ability to set up different accounts, entitle it day trading account, swing trading account, share account. All right. Let's get organized as much as possible. Okay. Lululemon, another one. Okay. And my rationale, I'm gonna be a devil's advocate as well. My rationale for a lot of these stocks that you're maybe questioning, like, Brian, what if the economy goes bad and no one's buying $100 leggings? Or, these are stocks that typically, commodities like gold, silver, healthcare stocks, as well as consumer discretionary stocks. These are stocks that hedge funds, big money will rotate into, right, as a hedge to their tech stock portfolio, because the volatility of tech, right, are major movers. They're still going to boom in AI and all these AI companies, but they're so volatile that one small little recession, or a tech company has to dial back, or they're firing or hiring or not hiring or whatever. That volatility, like Tanvir was saying with Palantir, yeah, we rotated all the way up to damn near $200, and we could pull back to 100. So smart investors or long-term investors will hedge against that volatility with consumer discretionary, with things like Starbucks, UPS, right? Companies that you're like, man, no one's buying that. That's just too safe. It's not recovering. That's a dead company, right? Because everyone wants 500% on their money, right? But these types of stocks that are beaten down, that you're like, no one's buying this stuff, right? That company's going out of business, right? They have cash flow on hand. Okay. So we don't know if Lululemon will recover up to $600 something again. Maybe, right? When the economy gets back and everyone's fine and all that kind of stuff, and eventually it will. But we could see at least a 50% recovery, a 50% retracement from these 160 lows. Okay. So when you see a stock like this, very similar to Dollar General, what's it on the charts? This is why I'm teaching the charts, because the charts take out the emotion, right, of what people think, human psychology. Like, I'm not buying that, right? Start thinking a little bit differently of what smart money and big money does, and stop chasing what everyone else is chasing, right? We're thinking 2 years, 3 years ahead. Okay. So Lululemon, you can do your own due diligence. I'm not saying, but I'm saying it's a great technical level. Okay. And Lululemon, I'm looking for it to recover minimally up to $260 to $300. Okay. So Lululemon is one of those stocks that is at a technical buy level in this channel with gaps above. And you can see how it's already rotated from 160 back to 180. And then it'll be at 200 before you know it. Then it might sit here, might pull back, might sit here. The next thing you know, Lululemon, might pull back like that, sit here for a while, and then it just starts trickling back up like that. Okay. Very similar to what just happened to DG. Okay. So put Lululemon on your radar. If you're not a, shareholder, or you don't want to be a shareholder, maybe you look at Leaps. You're like, I don't really want to own this company. I'd rather say that for AI and other things that I want to put my money into. Cool. You can look at a Leap on Lululemon and say, I don't want to own the share, but I may want to do a Leap option on it. Okay. Just a consideration. Okay, I did put Duolingo on there as well. It's a little bit bigger mover here, but great technical recovery off of here. Double bottom there off of 260. You can see it rotating. The charts told the story there. Duolingo, if I go to my daily levels here, got above that daily 20, sitting above the daily 50, and then going to rotate back to 374, back to 400, and probably back to 470, and it'll be back to $500. So it's a bigger mover. Okay, you can do your due diligence on that. I'm not going to touch too much on it. But Duolingo is another one that it was at a very nice previous highs, pullback, double bottom, don't chase, and it's recovering. Kava, another one, very beautiful level here on Kava. Okay, we had Kava back in this $30 to $40 share range inside of leverage back in 2023 when I mentioned Kava, because I was in Dallas. Kava was right down the street. I was going to Kava all the time for lunch, and I was like, yo, we need to pay attention to this. A lot of folks didn't have Kava in their area. Okay, so Kava took off from $30 and went to $172. Okay, so I know it's in the restaurant chain. I understand, but do your due diligence on it. Kava, again, in a great buy area around $60. Okay, and I'm looking for Kava to have that 50% retracement. So that would put Kava roughly around that 62.30, about $90 or so, $90 to $100 of a recovery from here. So kind of put that on your radar. We do have some community members that are in some leaps on Kava. So again, another leap opportunity underneath the $100. We take it from 60 in a year or so, fill this gap back to 82, back to 90, and then there's my target right there at the top there at 94, $95. So if this is the bottom, starts to rotate, and then there we go. All right, Kava on the list. UPS, great dividend stock here. Okay, at $83. I know it's frustrating to some folks. If you're already in, set it and forget it in your long term, in my opinion. Okay, UPS, very interesting down here, close to $80. Okay, this whole zone here between, and this is more of a share buying, in my opinion. I think it's also a leap opportunity. But if you have the opportunity, maybe in a long-term retirement account or Roth IRA or something, it's like, man, all my AI stocks, all my tech stocks are going crazy. I can buy more of those, but is there anything that I can get a good risk to reward on? And it may move a little bit slower or may recover in a slower period of time, but consider UPS to your financial advisor or your own portfolios that you're managing yourself, that UPS got a target back to 100 in the short term on UPS. Okay, we're wrapping up here on healthcare. HIMS, my goodness, just absolute beautiful structure. Okay, if I weren't to say anything else, is on these long terms or where to buy, just look at where the daily moving averages are. Is it above the daily 50 and the daily 100 and the daily around the daily 20 or not? Okay. Look at this just gathering of moving averages right on top of HIMS at $50. It just took off from there. Okay, beautiful structure above 50. I mean, HIMS is just preparing, in my opinion, to just take off very, very soon, to these new highs. The next thing you know is it's back up here to 75 and then break out to new highs and things like that. All right, so HIMS, keep your eye on it. If you've already got shares, great. You know what I'm talking about. Trading it day in and day out could be a good trading opportunity if it breaks new highs above 60. Right? Don't want to get trapped, but above 60 could move, another $5. You see it move pretty quickly from 50 to 60. From the 24th, that was on Wednesday, and it's not even Monday yet. So in 3 days, it moved $8 to $10. Okay. So keep your eye on HIMS. You can see that buyers are stepping in every pullback. All right. So keep your eye on HIMS. CNC. This is the one I'm in personally. Shares $26. We got leaps on these as well. Right. Do I think that we could get stuck a little bit? Yeah, potentially. The big takeoff on CNC is going to be first above $40, but really above that $42. Okay, CNC above that 42 into that golden pocket that I have drawn there, sitting in there, and then that's when the takeoff happens. Okay, so CNC, any little pullback that we get, if we grind up into this 42 or 40, right, kind of get that, and then we pull back maybe one more time. Do not get too, scared or anything like that. Just any little pullback on CNC, I would start getting very interested if you're not already in some shares, and maybe start looking at some leaps as well. This is a double up opportunity. So from 30 to 50, or excuse me, 30 to 60, another double up opportunity. That's all I look for in the market. If you've heard that term before, if other people use it, that's cool. But that is essentially what you're looking for. Is most people are getting less than 3 to 4% on their money. Just sitting in your checking account, you're getting nothing. If it's sitting in some low yield savings account at 0.003 that you don't even know what it's earning, then yeah. So the stock market in relative terms gives 8 to 12% on a regular year, right? And we've been getting 20% returns just sitting in QQQ and SPY and VOO and VTI, right? So if you're looking for these returns, start thinking like that, like long term, like where do I buy this? Just start thinking from level to level, and then pull your profits, rinse and repeat. So that's all I'm thinking about with CNC is, man, okay, 26, what's a double up? Okay, even in shares, there you go. I'm just looking for $46, right? So, or $47, whatever the, math in my head right now. Right? That's 100% on your money with shares. So why does anyone have, in my opinion, anything sitting in a checking account? Not financial advice. I got to sit here and like, oh man, I got to move money over, use my credit, whatever. Like I don't have anything sitting in my checking account. I'm just actually got one closed recently because there was nothing sitting in there. Closed it. All right. Here we go. All right, let's wrap this up. Any questions for anybody? Palantir is several looked up and crap at 182. Yeah, exactly. Another one here that was brought to my attention. NB looks great on the charts. We got $7. Okay. See that curl up? It's got a price target of roughly around $17 to $15. So NB, take a look at this. This is one of those stocks that is in the, let me look at profile. Titanium, niobium, scandium, several rare earths. So it's kind of like in metals. Okay. Metals and mining. So any pullback here, I like the buyers that are stepping in. We can get anywhere around $6 to $5. That could be a nice double up as well. So there's another small stock for anybody that's looking for, anything under $10. All right. What questions did anyone have for me? Any questions, thoughts, perspectives? I can't wait to short Palantir to 100. I'll be patient. Palantir has had several look up and crap at 182. Yep. Thoughts, perspectives? All right. So what I'll do is I'll just let everybody know before you leave. If you're interested, if you want to join Leverage University, the link will be right in the description after this live. If you want to jump on my socials, which are listed right there below me, you're more than welcome to check out those. And it's in the link in my bio. I do check my DMs, my direct messages as well. You're more than welcome to message me after this, and we will have somebody respond to you. I've had a lot of people interested in learning options or learning trading or learning, just the technicals. How do you read the charts? Do you have any classes? So we will be having a either a boot camp or a small mini course that will be coming out. I know a lot of people have been asking for that. So I'm looking at a release date of that small mini course right into the middle of October because I want everyone to be ready for the November run. Okay, so please, if you're not paying attention, if you have family members, if you have friends or anybody, this is the time to pay attention to the stock market. Is the final quarter of the year. Okay, a lot of rebalancing, a lot of volatility, a lot of movement, and people are going to be trying to finish out having a great year for their portfolios. All right. Going once, going twice. Anybody in the chat? Any questions, thoughts, or feedback from anybody? I do apologize for the quality, but hopefully the quality of the information was just as good as usual. All right. Going once, going twice. Good to go. All right. Thank y'all so much. Peace, love, and blessings to you. Enjoy your rest of your Sunday. I will see Leverage University members inside of live trading in the morning to see if there's any opportunities. My main watch will be Hood, Amazon, and then we will be looking at some of our semiconductors as well.